What drives a man to challenge a legend? What sparks the roar of rebellion on an empty road at dawn? Imagine the stillness of morning shattered by a V12 engine's growl, a lone figure racing against the sunrise. This isn't just the sound of a car, it's the battle cry of a raging bull. We're about to follow that bull's journey. Buckle up because this is the inspiring true story of Ferruccio Lamborghini, the farmer's son who took on a titan and created an automotive legend. Have you ever felt underestimated, told to know your place? Ferruccio Lamborghini did, and instead of backing down, he built one of the most iconic supercar brands in history. How did a tractor mechanic end up making Ferrari tremble? Let's rewind the clock and find out. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born on April 28, 1916, in the small hamlet of Rinazzo di Cento, northern Italy. His parents were grape farmers, but young Ferruccio had little interest in tilling the soil. Instead, he was irresistibly drawn to machines. The hum of an engine excited him more than the call of the fields. As a teenager, while others learned farming, Ferruccio was tinkering in the barn, disassembling and reassembling equipment with oily hands and a determined grin. He attended a technical institute near Bologna to study mechanics, honing the craft he loved. By 1940, on the eve of war, Ferruccio's mechanical aptitude had become his ticket out of the farm and into the wider world. World War II threw the young mechanic into the deep end. Drafted into the Italian Royal Air Force in 1940, Ferruccio served as a vehicle maintenance mechanic stationed on the island of Rhodes. His knack for machinery was put to crucial use, keeping trucks, jeeps, and generators running under the harsh conditions of war. By his early 20s, Ferruccio had become the supervisor of an entire maintenance unit, improvising fixes with limited resources. This trial by fire tempered his skills and resolve. In September 1943, Italy capitulated, and Rhodes fell into turmoil. The German forces occupying the island turned on their former Italian allies. Ferruccio initially escaped capture. That was a testament to his resourcefulness. He even managed to open a small workshop under German permission, fixing vehicles in civilian clothes. But when the British liberated Rhodes in 1945, Ferruccio was arrested as a possible collaborator. After all, he had kept the machines running for whoever was in charge. He became a prisoner of war, held until 1946 before finally being allowed to return home to Italy. Back home in the farming region of Cento, Italy was rebuilding, and Ferruccio Lamborghini was ready to roll up his sleeves. He opened a modest garage in 1946, repairing cars and trucks for neighbors. Italy's farmers desperately needed tractors to rebuild agriculture, but new tractors were expensive. Ferruccio saw an opportunity and a challenge. With a war surplus of military vehicles and parts lying around, he asked himself, why not build a tractor from all this scrap? Ferruccio's first tractor was a Frankenstein of parts: a Morris six-cylinder engine, a General Motors transmission, and a Ford rear differential, all bolted together into one functional machine. It was crude, but it worked, and it was cheap. In fact, his very first tractor was built to help his own father on the farm. Word spread quickly through the farming community that the clever mechanic Ferruccio could breathe new life into leftover war machines. Soon, other farmers begged him for tractors of their own. By 1949, Ferruccio officially founded Lamborghini Tractors on the site of his garage, and orders began pouring in. The timing was perfect. Italy's post-war economic boom was underway, and Ferruccio's rugged, affordable tractors were exactly what the country's reborn farms needed. His tractor business thrived, growing from a tiny workshop into one of Italy's largest agricultural equipment manufacturers within a few years. Picture Ferruccio in the 1950s. Not yet the supercar magnate, but a wealthy industrialist nonetheless. Factories churning out tractors, his last name Lamborghini, painted on the engines that helped feed a nation. He was now a self-made man, respected and rich before the age of 40. And yet, inside him burned a passion that tractors alone couldn't satisfy. A need for speed, for sports cars. Despite his success, Ferruccio remained down-to-earth about his achievements. When a reporter later asked him to describe himself in short, Ferruccio chuckled and replied, "A normal chap, a man who likes creating things, a good worker in the morning, and a man who likes enjoying himself in the afternoon. This was Ferruccio's way. Work hard, and play he did. By the late 1950s, with profits from tractors and his new ventures in heating and air conditioning, Ferruccio indulged in a personal fleet of luxury cars. He bought Alfa Romeos, Lancias, Mercedes, and of course, the ultimate status symbol in Italy, a Ferrari. Little did Enzo Ferrari know, one of his customers was about to become his biggest rival. Ferruccio Lamborghini loved fast cars. By the early 1960s, he owned a stable of them. He had driven Maseratis, Jaguars, even the vaunted Ferrari. But the engineer in him noticed flaws in almost every car. One was too noisy, another's interior got too hot, the brakes on a third weren't to his liking. With the Ferrari, Ferruccio kept encountering a recurring problem. The clutch would overheat and fail. Now, most customers would simply take their car to the dealer for repairs, but not Ferruccio. He had his mechanics take apart the Ferrari's transmission, and he discovered the clutch was essentially the same as the ones he used in his tractors. In 1962, Ferruccio decided to go straight to the top to voice his concern. He drove to Maranello to meet the legendary Enzo Ferrari himself. Ferruccio politely explained the clutch issue, suggesting improvements. For Enzo, a proud and fiery personality, this was an affront. Enzo essentially told Ferruccio to stick to tractors and leave sports cars to the professionals. In that moment, in the flash of Enzo's dismissive glare, a spark ignited in Ferruccio. He left Ferrari's office furious, but also inspired. "This was the point when I finally decided to make a perfect car," Ferruccio later said. The gauntlet had been thrown. If Ferrari wouldn't build the perfect Grand Tour, then Ferruccio Lamborghini would do it himself. Ferruccio wasted no time. He poured his tractor profits into a bold new venture, Automobili Lamborghini, founded in 1963 in a tiny town called Sant'Agata Bolognese, just a stone's throw from Ferrari's home turf. If this were a movie, you'd see a montage of him hiring the best engineers he could find. In fact, several were disillusioned, ex-Ferrari employees eager to prove themselves. He recruited great minds like Giotto Bizzarini, the genius who had engineered Ferrari's V12 engines, to design a brand new V12 for Lamborghini. He brought in young talents Gianpaolo Dallara and Paolo Stanzani to craft the chassis, and hired famed stylists like Franco Scaglione and later the design house Carrozzeria Touring to shape the body. In mere months, this dream team turned Ferruccio's dream into reality. By late 1963, the first Lamborghini prototype, the 350 GTV, was unveiled at the Turin Motor Show. It was a sleek two-seater coupe with a roaring V12 engine, a direct challenge to Ferrari's GT cars. GTV wasn't just a car, it was Ferruccio's opening statement to the world. There were hiccups. The 350 GTV styling was controversial, and Ferruccio had it refined into the prettier 350 GT for production in 1964. But the message was clear. Lamborghini had arrived, and it meant business. Ferruccio chose a symbol for his car company that spoke to his personality. He was born under the zodiac sign of Taurus, the bull. And in 1962, on a trip to Spain, he had visited the ranch of Don Eduardo Mura, famed breeder of mighty Spanish fighting bulls. Those powerful animals impressed him deeply. So for his new car brand, Ferruccio adopted a raging bull as the emblem, a direct visual challenge to Ferrari's prancing horse. The stage was set. Bull versus horse, Lamborghini versus Ferrari. The rivalry that would define supercar history was about to erupt onto the open road. The Lamborghini Miura burst onto the scene in 1966 and shook the automotive world to its core. Low and wide, with a snarling V12 engine mounted right behind the two seats, the Miura's design was revolutionary. It was painted in vibrant colors, bright yellows, oranges, lime green, as daring as its concept. When Ferruccio unveiled the Miura, named after his friend Don Eduardo, Miura's fiercest fighting bulls, it was immediately hailed as the world's first supercar, capable of 170 miles per hour and boasting a level of style and performance that was almost otherworldly. Crowds at the Geneva Motor Show stood three deep to glimpse this mid-engine marvel. Here was a car that combined ferocious power with Italian elegance, a car that made Ferrari's front-engine GTs suddenly look outdated. The Miura's impact was so profound that even Enzo Ferrari had to take notice. Lamborghini, the upstart, had delivered a masterpiece. Ferruccio was in his element. The Miura embodied everything he wanted Automobile Lamborghini to stand for: innovation, luxury, and a bit of audacity. Even the name Miura reinforced the brand's bullfighting mystique and Ferruccio's pugnacious spirit. After producing the numerically named 350 GT and 400 GT, Lamborghini fully embraced theme names with the Miura, and it wouldn't stop there. Soon came the Lamborghini Islero, named after a bull that killed a famous matador, and the Espada, meaning sword, referring to the matador himself. Each new model steeped in bullfighting lore. Ferruccio's Raging Bull brand was crafting not just cars, but legends on wheels. By the early 1970s, Lamborghini was a true supercar icon. In 1974, the company unveiled its next audacious creation, the Lamborghini Countach. If the Miura was sensual curves, the Countach was all sharp angles and shock value. Its design was so futuristic, so outlandish: scissors doors swinging upward, a periscopic rear view, a wedge shaped like a spaceship, that people literally gasped at first sight. The name Countach itself is a Piedmontese exclamation of astonishment, roughly meaning wow or holy smokes, a name not related to bulls, ironically, but utterly fitting for the reaction the car invoked. Under the skin, the Countach packed a potent V12 and pushed the limits of 1970s technology. It became the poster car of a generation, a symbol that the Lamborghini brand was about raw, unbridled imagination. With Miura and Countach, Ferruccio Lamborghini's young company established itself as the ultimate symbol of boldness and rebellion in the automotive world. Ferruccio's cars were often louder, flashier, and more extravagant than the competition, and that was exactly the point. The prancing horse had been joined by an equally iconic charging bull, and enthusiasts now debated in excited tones: Ferrari or Lamborghini, the old master or the bold newcomer. In a few short years, Ferruccio Lamborghini's determination to build a perfect car had spawned a supercar dynasty. The bull was now fully born, and it was raging on the roads, goring the conventions of sports car design. Fast forward to today. The name Lamborghini still sends a thrill down the spine of car lovers. The company Ferruccio built in the 1960s continues to produce some of the world's most jaw-dropping sports cars more than 60 years later. The lineage of the bull lives on in modern masterpieces like the Lamborghini Huracan, pictured above in vibrant green, and the Aventador, descendants of the Miura and Countach in spirit and style. Each model carries that same DNA of daring design and blistering performance. The Raging Bull logo still graces the hoods, reminding us that Ferruccio's defiant vision remains at the heart of the brand. Ferruccio Lamborghini's personal story with the car company reached its end in the 1970s, but the legend was only beginning. The late 1960s brought immense success, yet also challenges. The global oil crisis and financial strains started to bite. By 1972, Ferruccio's tractor business encountered trouble, and he faced the hard decision to sell his interest in Automobile Lamborghini. By 1974, at age 58, Ferruccio had stepped away entirely. He sold the sports car company and retired to a sprawling 750-acre estate in Umbria, where he would indulge in winemaking and hunting in his later years. One chapter ended as Ferruccio, the man, retreated from the spotlight, but the brand carrying his name charged onward. The decades that followed saw Automobile Lamborghini change hands in weather storms, almost as wild as a bull untamed. There were ups and downs. In 1978, the company went bankrupt and passed through receivership. It saw new owners from Swiss businessmen to Indonesian investors. Even Chrysler, the American giant, owned Lamborghini briefly in the late 1980s. But through all the changes, the essence of Lamborghini, Ferruccio's essence, survived. The cars remained radical. In 1986 came the LM002 SUV, nicknamed the Rambo Lambo. In 1990, the classic Diablo, and by the 2000s, under the stewardship of Audi, part of Volkswagen Group, which acquired Lamborghini in 1998, the brand was more alive than ever. The Murcielago, named after a legendary bull that survived 28 sword strokes, and the Gallardo, named for a historic bull breed, of the 2000s proved Lamborghini could blend modern engineering with its trademark flamboyance. Each new model still nodded to the bullfighting tradition, a quiet homage to the founder's passion. From the Murcielago and Reventon to today's Aventador and Huracan. And what of Ferruccio himself? Ferrari's insult had led him to automotive immortality. He lived to see his cars attain worldwide fame and to know that he had forever changed the game. In February 1993, Ferruccio Lamborghini passed away at the age of 76, but by then the legend of Lamborghini was unstoppable. All of Ferruccio's companies, from tractors to air conditioners to wine, continued operating in some form, a testament to his prowess as a businessman. But undoubtedly his most famous legacy is the car company that bears his name. The Lamborghini brand today is synonymous with daring, innovation, and excess in the best way. It's a brand that says, why follow rules when you can rewrite them? Why settle for ordinary when you can build something extraordinary? Lamborghini cars have become cultural icons, coveted by movie stars, athletes, and any kid who's ever taped a Countach poster on their wall. They represent boldness, the courage to defy expectations. Remember, it all started because Ferruccio Lamborghini refused to be told he wasn't good enough to build great cars. That spirit lives on in every Aventador that screams down a highway at 200 plus miles per hour, in every Huracan that burbles and crackles, pulling into a town square, turning every head. Lamborghini remains a symbol of boldness, of rebellion, of the pursuit of perfection. It reminds us that sometimes a big dream and a bigger dose of audacity can create something timeless. Ferruccio Lamborghini's story is more than the tale of a man who built cars. It's a story about defiance and passion. It's about a man who looked at the established king of sports cars and said, I can build something just as great. No, greater. It's the story of turning a personal insult into a legacy that the whole world admires. From the humblest beginnings on a farm to the pinnacle of automotive design, Ferruccio's life teaches us that no dream is too big and no rival too mighty if you have the courage to challenge them. Think of the empty road at dawn we began with. Once upon a time, Ferruccio Lamborghini stood on a similar road, daring to imagine a car that bore his name racing into the horizon. Today, that vision lives on every time a Lamborghini's engine fires to life. The roar that was born in Ferruccio's heart now echoes around the globe. Dare to challenge the established. Dare to build your own legacy. From tractors to supercars, Ferruccio Lamborghini proved that, with grit and passion, a dreamer can indeed become a legend. The raging bull he set free so many years ago is still running, stronger and faster than ever. A timeless reminder to never back down and to always charge forward.